Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, finally, we are back to Fromville. Yes, that's right. We are here at the season finale, season 2, episode 10 of From. I am your host with the most, Emmanuel, aka E-Man, Noisette. Thank you all so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. It has been a long journey, but y'all, we have finally made it to the last episode of this season. But before we start talking about it, I know somebody out there is new to this channel and they have one big major question, and that is, where can I get a Fromily shirt just like E-Man? Well, don't you worry. Go look in the description. I got a link right there for you. You can get your own shirt and be a part of the Fromily as well. But now we got to talk about where we have just come from and where we are going. So in the last episode of From, we left off where Marielle, Julie, and generic Chris Evans have all been attacked by this cicada evil entity thing, and they are all trapped in some sort of trance or hypnotic state. Okay, well, listen, enough of that. We have got a lot to talk about, so let's jump right into the episode. Christy and Kenny arrive at the house to check on Julie. They find Boyd already there. Outside, Jade states the obvious and how much they just don't know. However, he does make the observation that they need 2 pieces to connect just to start figuring things out. Boyd leaves and says that he has to go talk to Sarah. For some reason, Dale avoided getting the box, but he ended up joining Elgin and Donna on their search party near the RV. They search the woods for Chris Not Evans until they find his body. When they try to move him, he starts to scream out with his eyes whited out. At the same time, back in the town, Julie also starts to scream out in pain, and at the colony house, Marielle does the very same. Now, I didn't catch this the first time, that I watched this, but it was kind of interesting, and I wanted to point this out just, so that you guys can catch on this too. But it's kind of a slight change in Jade's character. When Boyd came outside the house, Jade said that Julie should be out there picking a prom dress rather than, laying in bed in pain like the way she is. And as we are going to see later on in this episode, I think that this is the beginning of Jade feeling some sort of sense of not only empathy, but a moral obligation to actually take action. I also really liked how he mentioned this was all like opening a book from the middle or putting together a jigsaw puzzle with only a few pieces. This could be kind of maybe the writers poking fun at us, the audience, but at the end of the day, Jade is right. This is the second time someone in this show has pointed out how to figure out the big mystery of this series. The last time we got it was with Ethan when he said that everyone should use Victor's pictures, put them together, and figure out the big story that's going on. Once you figure out the story, then you can know how it all ends. But I really like Jade's reasoning here because all you need is 2 pieces to connect, and this show has primarily been giving us a bunch of random pieces. We just don't know exactly how they connect yet. Now, when it comes to Dale and Donna and Elgin, I really liked how Donna seems to be a little bit more receptive now to the idea of Elgin's dream, possibly giving people more answers. She's not as dismissive as she might have been in the past. But we got even more confirmation now. We got answers now from the last episode that the silver bullets, they just don't work. There were no dead monsters laying around, as Dale had pointed out. And if you recall, Boyd did shoot at these monsters with the silver bullets dipped in that bile from Joker Face. And I think that this actually definitively debunks any of the theories that the blood or the bile was toxic in some way, or that it could actually kill the monsters. Now, as I mentioned before, whatever the worm cicada entity thing is, that thing is what actually killed the monsters and not the blood or anything else. And it also seems as though we're getting very clear evidence here that we have our official 3 victims from the nursery rhyme now. All 3 of them, Marielle and Bootleg Evans and Julie, all 3 of them are connected by, I don't know, this force or whatever that is slowly torturing them. But anyway, let's continue. Sarah, Boyd, and Kenny go out into the woods. Boyd tells her about the nursery rhyme and Elgin's dream. She mentions that the boy in white was trying to help them. They return back to the site where Boyd woke up after meeting Martin. Sarah can hear the music box. She can hear the screaming and the torture that's happening, and her nose starts to bleed. She starts to repeat the rhyme, saying that it needs them to stay. She says that it's laughing at Boyd for setting it free on the town, that it wants to hurt everyone and make them suffer. It got excited also when it touched Kenny's arm. She says that Julie and the others are dying, and when they die, it'll be too late. She says that Boyd has to make the music stop. Now, I thought that this was a really, really important scene. Sarah said something kind of slick, by the way, in case you missed it. And she said that she doesn't think that the boy in white is actually a little boy. Now, I'm not sure exactly what she means by that, but it could be something we got to keep in mind somewhere in the future. Maybe there's time travel involved. Maybe there's some sort of indication that he's a ghost, or maybe he's a really old person. I don't know, but I thought it was interesting that she kind of slipped that in. Now, Sarah coming to this site, I think, reinforces the fact about how this place does have an effect on people. She is now one of those individuals who has some sort of psychic link to this place. So it does make sense that once she gets to this place, she would start hearing the music box and it would start affecting her. Now, the fact that she can hear the music box playing, but Boyd and Kenny can't, further demonstrates that there is something psychological going on here. Now, I found it also interesting that Sarah had mentioned that it is laughing at Boyd for setting it free into the town. So I think this kind of gives us more indication about what's actually happening here. Those worms and the cicadas, they're not just like random bugs or whatever. There is an actual it here. This is probably some sort of being that has a consciousness, and it clearly revels in other people's suffering. Now, Sarah was talking about making the music stop to help them, but let's not forget that Martin did say that when the music stops, that's when they will come for you. So once again, this seems kind of contradictory that we're getting these two conflicting messages. But there is a bigger question here, and that bigger question here is, what is the it that Sarah is referencing? Do you have any ideas on what it actually is? Now, if you don't have an idea, don't worry, you're in luck because I've got y'all covered. Y'all, I think I already know who or what this it is. And I think a lot of y'all might have missed it. I think this show might have pulled a fast one on us. And I've got a theory about what this it thing is. And I'll be dropping that in a separate video just because there's so much to talk about with that. As a matter of fact, if my theory is right, not only will it identify who the it is, but I also think it's going to answer some of your biggest questions that a lot of you had from the beginning of the show. So this would be the perfect time, if you have not already, to hit the subscribe button on this channel and go ahead and also hit the bell to get those notifications so you know exactly when I drop that video. I know sometimes I might pop up on your home screen and you haven't been subscribed, but look, if you want to support this channel, if you like what I've been giving you all this time, hitting that subscribe would actually go a long way to support this channel, and I'd really appreciate it. Not to mention, I don't want y'all missing out on this really fun theory that I'm going to drop for you. Back at the colony house, Tilly leads a group in prayer. Tabitha tells Jim about Victor's mother. She believes that she's got to go to the tower to save the crusty kids, which might save Julie. Jim is worried about what happened to Victor's mom could possibly happen to Tabitha too. She asks Victor if he knows the way to the tower. He mentions that he knows a way through the bottle tree. Okay, now I've got to say I'm all the way confused. Now, if you recall from my last theory video, the Who's the Mole theory, I told y'all that Tilly has been close to the top of my list from the jump. But now she's leading folks in prayer? Whew. I mean, listen, this might have kind of flipped things for me. Now I got to kind of look at things a little differently because now I'm in a state of confusion. Because if Tilly was a mole, you got to be some special type of demon-led person to sit here and lead a group through Bible verses. I mean, it's kind of making me rethink maybe is Tilly actually a good person? I mean, it doesn't explain how she knows so much stuff, but I don't know. I'm still gonna keep an eye on her, because like I said, she knows way too much. But what do you think her deal is? Does any of this revelation, or does this little bit of information, does it change your thoughts about Tilly in any way? Let me know your thoughts. Now, I really like this scene with Jim and Tabitha because it just felt so real. As a parent, you gotta make those tough decisions and go out on a limb, especially out in this crazy forest, to face way more possible danger. With all the weird stuff going on, I could see how this crazy idea might seem like an actual legit way to help Julie. Now, here's the thing. I want you to kind of think back to episode 8 of this season, right? Ethan had mentioned how being on a quest is kind of like it's going to get more scary the further you go. But he also mentioned, and I told y'all to pay attention to what Ethan says. He also mentioned that on a quest, usually you're going to have to save someone. Well, per usual, Ethan is right, I think. And, Tabitha is doing exactly that. She is going out on a quest to this tower to go save these crusty little kids. And, that is kind of probably how this is all going to turn out. I mean, we've seen the same thing play out when it comes to Boyd. I mean, the only time in this place we've ever gotten any type of answers is when people go outside of the town. Boyd went outside. He found the animals for livestock. He found the talisman, to protect everyone. And now Tabitha is potentially going to go out and find some more answers. Of course, we'll get to that towards the end. But at the end of the day, going outside the town usually is going to be a good thing. Now, it didn't work out too much for Boyd because my man did come back with some COVID worms, but you get the gist, right? Like, staying in the town is not the way to find a way to get out, and it's not the way to get any answers. Also, if I could say this too, I'm really digging the whole bond between Tabitha and Victor in this case. She's clearly making good strides with him, because remember, Victor was very closed off, didn't want to talk to nobody, but now he's like really opening up with Tabitha and everything. And she seems to be like the only one that can get actual real answers out of Victor. Now, again, old Victor would have never told nobody about no bottle tree, and I definitely don't think he would have taken anybody out to all those cars and everything. And, at this point, I know Tabitha has to go to the tower, and I know she got to go do her business and stuff like that, but I'd love for her to stay. I really would. I want her to stay, keep talking to Victor, keep sweet talking to him, because you might mess around and get this dude to remember he got a brother. Maybe he got a daddy out there somewhere. Who knows? But okay, let's just get right back to it. Boyd wants to help the people feel more comfortable in town, so he tells Kenny to go just tell folks that they're working on a solution. Ellis checks in on Reggie to see how he's doing and tells him that, look, none of this was anyone's fault. And this was the point where Reggie decided that he was going to be on some total BS. Fatima tells Ellis to meet her at the altar in her white dress. They ain't getting no younger, so they might as well do it. Oh yeah. She says, let's get married. Yo, let me just say, shout out to Kenny and Boyd for working together as a team again. I'm glad that they're actually being able to, just repair their relationship to a degree anyway. And at the same time, I think that, the time that Kenny spent with Sarah in the sheriff's station, when she was playing Russian roulette and all that, and also seeing her legitimately freak out and hear these voices, I think a lot of that is helping Kenny just become a little bit more understanding. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that Kenny ever told Sarah about what happened to his arm and his dream. So when she mentioned that to him, that probably was very shocking for him to hear that from her. And I think, again, that's kind of making him realize, like, ooh, maybe Sarah is a little bit more special than I might have thought before. Anyway, as for Reggie, here is where all the BS started. I know Reggie is probably shell-shocked and probably dealing with PTSD or whatever. He did witness a crazy murder and he's blaming himself also. But as soon as Ellis brought up that it was no one's fault, Reggie got that seed planted in his head for his future actions. Now, as for Fatima and Ellis, look, I still don't have a good feeling about this marriage and the baby situation. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen here, but if there is a next season for season 3, I would be very nervous, very, very nervous about them in a place like this, okay? We don't know if she's going to have some demon baby or not. Okay, I'm scared for Ellis because lately my man has been a punching bag for folks, pushing him around in the colony house. And then my man is getting shanked up as well. I feel like there's a setup here that is just waiting to happen. I told y'all, I've seen Game of Thrones. I've seen The Red Wedding. I just don't trust it, but we'll see. Jade is breaking glass bottles in the bar until a hallucination of Tom the bartender shows up. He believes it's a stress-induced psychosis. He wants to find a different way to look at the symbol. Tom mentions how Jade changed the still of the liquor. He says that Jade is still overthinking things. He mentioned that Tabitha said that the symbols were in the tunnels and he knows what he has to do. Nature puts the most precious things in the most difficult spots to reach. It's all according to natural design. Tom also mentions about making moral choices because they're right and not because they make philosophical sense. Hey, yo, I'm happy to see Tom back again, kinda, sorta. I feel like this is very similar to when Boyd was imagining Father Khatri. This seems to be the same case going on with Jade and Tom. I think this lets us know that Tom might be one of the closer people that Jade felt comfortable talking to, maybe next to Jim anyway. Him and Tom did have their little philosophy chat back in season 1. And it seems like Jade is taking over the role of the bartender here too. I mean, you see they got the similar uniforms on. But anyway, I loved how comfortable Jade was with this hallucination. I wonder if he's going to have these smooth conversations next time he sees Christopher. The conversation does not seem supernatural, nor do I think that it's some sort of ghost. I really do think that Jade is just talking to himself and using Tom as his consciousness. That's why I pointed out earlier that Jade was concerned about Julie, because he believes that what is going on with her is not okay, and that the moral thing to do would be to go right into the face of danger, just like Tom did when he ran into the falling house to save Tabitha. Now, I really like this conversation because I think what we're seeing is Jade really working things out in his mind, but we are seeing it as a conversation between him and Tom, right? And the line about how like nothing in this place is natural, and Tom kind of countering that by saying that no, nothing is familiar. I think that's key here. In other words, you just have to learn how to adapt to this world in order to understand how things work. People have been fighting, and I think it's a natural urge, right? They've been fighting against what they believe is natural and normal, rather than just accepting that this new environment, things work differently here, and I think that perspective is going to be key, in terms of like actually being able to get out of this place. Again, you're in a place where visions are happening, monsters are walking around, people are seeing things all over the place. You're just going to have to adapt, accept that, listen to people who have dreams and stuff, put all these things together. And if you don't do that, you're going to stay here for a long time. At the sheriff's station, Sarah offers to go bury Paula's body. Boyd takes a look at his hand and gets really upset. Reggie goes to the storehouse and slices the throat of one of the colony house residents. He dead. He steals one of the shotguns and heads off. Okay, so, we see here that Sarah is still kind of like on this crusade of just trying to make herself be helpful. She's trying to get this retribution thing going on. And I think that in this scene also, Boyd got really upset at this point, just for a couple of reasons. I mean, remember, he cut his hand back in episode 6 when he gave those COVID worms to Joker Face. However, that was also a way for the worms to turn into cicadas and later come and terrorize the town. So I really believe that Boyd in this case is regretting the mistake he made in bringing this new terror to the town. Now, as for Reggie, oh, hell no, buddy, you gotta go to the box. You out here slicing people's throats? Nah. You got to go to the box or something. I know he's been having a rough time. I get that. But this ain't it, player. This ain't it. I mean, it's not like you was hearing voices, like Sarah was. It's not like you was trying to save people or nothing. He just flat out was looking for a place to project his pain and anger. Either way, Reggie's got to go. Boyd enters the church and proceeds to cuss out God himself. He brings up how Father Khatri prayed till his last breath, but he demands an answer as to why things are the way they are. Just then, Donna pops in. He told her what Sarah said about how everyone is going to die that was currently being held hostage, and how the music box was there, but not really. He also mentions seeing Abby and acknowledges that he brought this thing here. Donna reminds him that he also gave people more time and that his son is about to get married and he needs to focus on that for now. Damn, Boyd! Hold on, bro. You out here cussing God out? Oh, if I had some pearls, I'd clutch it, man. You had me hold on to my Bible now. Like, whoa, bro, slow down. Now, don't get me wrong. Boyd is clearly having some sort of mental breakdown, which is something completely understandable in a time of duress like this. He's feeling a sense of guilt and helplessness. And a lot of this is beyond his understanding. A lot of it is beyond his control. So it makes sense as to why he would lash out like this. Now, I wouldn't be a responsible Christian if I didn't bring up what I think Father Khatri might say if he were still around, because let's not forget, Father Khatri was kind of sort of, his voice of consciousness and reason to a certain degree also. Now, I imagine that if Father Khatri was still around, he would probably tell Boyd something like, this is just not how faith works. It's not about believing that things are always going to go right or even make sense, but having faith is about believing that when things go wrong, our faith keeps us from losing our minds. It grounds us like an anchor to whatever higher power you believe in. And even if you die, like Father Khatri did, death is not the end, but merely just a transition from one place to another. So I think that's kind of like what Father Khatri would say to him in this situation. But clearly, because Father Khatri is not here to kind of give Boyd this spiritual advice and counsel that, they used to share together, Boyd is left to wrestle with his own devices. And that's why you're seeing this, big lashing out towards God too. Now, I will say I do like how Donna is helping Boyd not get too lost here and by bringing him back to reality also, right? She's reminding him that his son is about to get married and yo, bro, you can save the day later. The apocalypse ain't going nowhere. It's all good. We can die later, But this is the kind of stuff that I think the show likes to sprinkle around that, yo, there are monsters out there. Yeah, there are things that go bump in the night, but it's the little things like having kids or getting married or just spending time with your family. Those are the type of things that keep you feeling human and maybe even keep you from losing your mind too. Kenny comes in to check on Marielle. Christy is having a really hard time and she's really starting to lose hope about their grander purpose here. He tries to look at the bright side of things and mentions that maybe their actions might make things better for the next group of people that might come through the town. Yo, let me just say, I really, really like to see Kenny's character mature throughout this series. And this perspective here is really compelling, right? He talked about his dad saying that like, yo, we're just a thread in like a larger sweater, and it's easier, right? It's easy and it's understandable, especially given what they're going through, to dwell on the horror of this place. But, for him to look at the bigger picture of the things that are going on and to put a positive spin on this, I thought was a really nice touch. And he's right, like if there is another group of people that come in through the town, they can be much more prepared and informed going in, or like he said, maybe everyone in town now is the reason why people in the future will get to go home. Being just a thread doesn't mean that you don't matter. I mean, my goodness, shout out to Kenny for real. I mean, this man has lost so much, and at the same time, he's growing to the point where even that girl that curved him for her own fiance, he's still out here giving her encouraging words to help her through things. Go ahead, Kenny. I love to see it, man. Now, you might not get them draws, but at least you're growing. Jade gets some twine and stands out at the entrance of the monster's tunnel. He falls in and starts to make his way through. He finds the same ventriloquist dummy that he previously saw in his visions. As he travels deeper in, he sees visions of the ashy kids laying on the stones, and as he looks above, the symbol is made out of vines, the same symbol that he's been seeing in all of his visions. When he looks again, the opening is now closed. I don't know about y'all, but I was really surprised that Jade did not bump into any monsters while he was walking through this tunnel area. I thought he was going to bump into at least a couple that were sleeping or something. But it seems like when you go to these hot spots, so to speak, right, that have like this psychic connection, that's when these visions start to happen. And this is just like what we just saw with Sarah earlier, when she was by the ruins. And I think Jade is having a very similar connection, except this might be a little bit more in line with the evil that's been going on with the town. And it probably is also why Jade can't see the boy in white as well. But he is seeing these kids laid out, and that seems to be part of some sort of ritual sacrifice or something. I mean, he looks up and sees the vines covering the opening that look like the symbol. Now, let's not forget that when Jade sees the symbol, there's always blood involved. When he's touching the tree or when he sees the symbol, there's always some blood. So I think if we go with this jigsaw theory that he proposed earlier of getting two pieces that connect, this scene might tell us that these children were used for some sort of blood sacrifice ritual. Could this be how the monsters were created? Or since we know that this whole town, this whole place is some sort of entity, are the blood sacrifices meant to maybe feed this world or something? Here's something else for you to consider. When Jade looked back up after his vision was complete, he saw that opening was no longer there. Now, since we are dealing with vines here or roots or whatever, this could be connected to what Victor has been saying regarding the trees moving all this time. So maybe the trees are coming together in preparation for a sacrifice or something. I don't really know. But what do you think the vines and the symbols and the dusty kids, what do you think all that means all together? Victor takes Tabitha to the bottle tree. He said that this is where he found his mother's body. He explains that it's a faraway tree, that this one is special because it takes you to the tower. He gives her his lunchbox filled with some snacks. She steps in and is transported immediately to another part of the forest. She walks right up to the entrance of the lighthouse. Now, first thing I'm wondering here is is this bottle tree the same bottle tree that Boyd and Sarah found back in season 1 towards the end of the season? But hey, a lot of you are asking about the lighthouse from last season. Well, hey, now it looks like we're finally here. But before we get to the actual lighthouse, Victor passed over his lunchbox to Tabitha, and it was filled with a bunch of snacks. But I'm wondering, did you pass over that revolver too? I mean, I'm just saying, bro, I know you got to eat on a quest, but I'm going to need you to pass me over that piece too. I'm going to need that gun, bro. But real quick, I want to take a moment here and just really give a shout out to Scott, who plays Victor, and Catalina, who plays Tabitha. I thought both actors in this case have been doing a really good job with their characters. But their chemistry here, I thought, was really effective and was working very well. You really get a sense of a true bond of Victor having a connection with Tabitha and probably even seeing his own mother in her. Matter of fact, if you stay tuned to the end of this video, I'm going to throw you guys a nice little bonus because I got a chance to actually speak with Scott McCord, who plays Victor, and you're not going to want to miss it, okay? I promise you. It's a really, really good interview, and we talked about some really cool things. So stay tuned. I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek right before the actual interview drops. Another thing we found out here was that Victor's mom actually died here, and Victor found her body right in front of the bottle tree. Now, this is pretty messed up, but notice something here that was not talked about, which is what happened to Victor's sister. Now, I do have a theory that I want to share with you all about what's going on with that. I'm going to share that at the end of this video because I do think that many of you might have the same idea that I have. So when we get there, you let me know if we're on the same page, or maybe if this theory was something you didn't think about. But stay tuned. I'll share that in a bit. Fatima and Ellis get ready to start their wedding. Boyd walks Fatima down the aisle to give her away. They exchange their vows, and that gives Boyd some inspiration. He congratulates the happy couple and heads off. Well, Ellis's words here about, Fatima being the light for him in dark places was a great way to really jog Boyd's memory here. Recall back earlier into this season when this was a direct point of reference for Boyd when he was in the dungeon and walking through the woods at night with the torch. So I think this is why Boyd gets the idea to go back for the torch, thanks to Ellis's comments. But there's something here I found interesting in this scene, and I doubt this was an accident too. If you notice, while Fatima and Ellis are standing and looking at each other, there's a dream catcher hanging right there in the window. It makes me wonder, with an evil deity that is attacking people in their dreams, is it possible that the dream catcher protected Fatima and Ellis? Oh, and by the way, I believe back in season 1, it was none other than Donna who gave them this gift. So now that's 2 times where either Donna or Tilly have done things that might make them less suspicious of being a mole. But of course, look, hey, I fully accept that maybe there is no mole at all. Okay, I fully accept that. But I'm asking you all, do you think there's anything to this dream catcher, or is it just a nice piece of decoration? Let me know what you think. Boyd goes back to Victor's truck to retrieve the torch that he took from earlier when he was trapped in with Martin. As he comes out, Reggie pulls a gun on him. He blamed Boyd for bringing all the disaster to the town and shoots Boyd in the arm. Boyd quickly fires back, killing Reggie. He dead. Boyd goes back to the site and lights the torch. He instantly is transported back to the dungeon where he finds Julie, Marielle, and Chris buy one, get one free Evans. Boyd finds the music box, but before he could do anything, he sees a vision of Abby. She begs him not to break the box because it'll only prolong the suffering of the people. She says that they're all gonna die screaming. She also mentions that he doesn't have to be afraid because none of this matters. Boyd doesn't believe that this thing let Abby here just to catch up on old times. As a counter, she said that this thing knows that he won't listen, and she mentions how it's hope that feeds the forest rather than fear. She explained that hopes makes people willing to suffer, and this thing loves suffering. She said to just let it go because everyone's gonna die anyway. Boyd refuses to listen, uses the torch to strike the music box, and proceeds to A-Town stomp it into pieces. Everyone that was trapped starts to come back from their trance. Boyd is then transported back out of the dungeon. Just then, he sees the same dog that also appeared whenever he was lost in the forest. Okay, so I don't know about y'all, but I don't think this Abby was real at all. I mean, she tried to tell Boyd not to break the music box. Clearly, that was not the case. And this kind of reminds me of season 1, where Boyd saw the vision of Abby in the woods with all the spider webs and everything. And it gives the impression that this may not have been in Boyd's mind, but rather maybe this entity has been trying to trick Boyd with Abby. So if this is the case, then I feel like we have to take the opposite of what she said to be true. I do think that this entity feeds on fear, and instead, hope is what it does not want from people. If that were true, then why lock up people and torture them the way that it was doing with the 3 victims? There was no hope of them escaping, so instead, I do believe that it does enjoy their suffering probably based on fear. Now, I don't know. I don't have any good idea right now about what's going on with this dog. I'm guessing the dog is a good thing, since the dog keeps showing up whenever boy gets done doing something in the woods and leads him to safety. So I guess the dog is cool. If y'all got any ideas about the dog, please feel free to let me know. Ethan opens the door and says there's no more buzzing outside. Julie wakes up and asks where's her mother, Tabitha. We go back to her as she climbs the tower stairs, hearing the ashy kids call out to her. She reaches the top and the boy in white appears. He apologizes to her and says that this is the only way. He pushes her out of a window. Tabitha wakes up then in a hospital bed, all wounded up. She gets out of her bed to look out the window, but right then the doctor comes in and tells her that 3 days ago, some hikers found her outside the woods. She looks out the window finally and sees that she might be back in the real world. Well, I did not see this coming. It looks like maybe Tabitha's actually found her way out of the town. She's waking up in this St. Anthony's hospital. And look, here a couple of things. If you go back to the scene right where she wakes up and you look at the computer next to her bed, that logo looked very similar to that symbol that we've been seeing in the town. Y'all tell me if you think something different. I'm also very curious as to where Tabitha actually ended up. I tried to do a Google search on St. Anthony's Hospital, and 2 places kind of came up that looked somewhat similar. One hospital was in Chicago, and I think I found another one in Ohio. But it was a little hard to tell, but I'm sure somebody out there online is going to get to the bottom of that. Next thing we got to consider is the fact that, the doctor said that she was found 3 days ago on the trail when some hikers found her. Now, I think that if she really is outside of the town and back in the real world, those 3 days are probably the same days that happens in the town, because I do believe the time still runs at the same pace. Now, let me throw this at y'all real quick. Here's just a crazy possibility. Do y'all think, potentially, maybe, what if Tabitha is not back in the real world? What if she's actually just in another part of Fromville? Do you think that's a possibility? Now, I'm going to say for now, I think she really did escape. I think that this might shatter some other theories out there that the town could be a simulation. The purgatory theory, it might still be in play. Aliens could still be in play. And there could still be some supernatural situation going on here as well. But I do think that she is back in the real world. Now, as for the boy in white pushing her, he was apologizing before, and I think that kind of is a positive sign. I've said this before, that the people that are able to see the boy in white, I think that they're on the good side of things. I think that they lead to positive change. So now Tabitha is joining that special club of Victor, Ethan, Elgin, and Sarah, who are able to actually see the boy in white. But Tabitha's actually taking it to another level, because the boy in white was actually able to make contact with her and push her. And I think that's just a whole different thing that we have not seen so far. And if you go back to episode 10 of season 1, Sarah does mention how the boy in white is also trapped there and he doesn't know how to escape. However, I don't think that means that he can't help other people escape from this place as well. Now, all of this brings me back to the theory that I mentioned earlier in this video. So stick with me on this as I share with you my theory and prediction for season 3 of From. We know now through Victor's flashbacks that his mom went out to go save the lost kids in the lighthouse. Then we learned, after all this time, Victor had a long lost sister that he forgot all about. His sister ran out after his mom during that night, but that was all we knew about them during his flashback. Then in this season finale, we found out that Victor actually found his mother's body right there, and it was right before she was able to make it inside the faraway tree. Well, in case you missed it, he did not mention anything about his sister's whereabouts. So where did she go? Well, I believe, just like Tabitha, Victor's sister probably also escaped thanks to the boy in white. I believe in season 3, Tabitha is going to meet Victor's sister. They're both going to travel back to Fromville. They're going to have a great little reunion with her and Victor, and together they might be the key to saving this town. So what do you guys think about my season 3 prediction and theory? Please feel free to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now, this is the point where I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on this episode with a rating. And I think I'm going to say for episode 10, season 2, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Now, I will admit that I had to watch this episode a couple of times to really appreciate it. The first time I was a little disappointed, but I think the second time when I had more time to process everything that was going on, now I feel a little bit more comfortable liking this episode for what it gave us. Now, as for the whole season, I think I'm going to have to give the whole season a 7.5 out of 10. Now, I will fully admit this season isn't as good as the first one. There were some dry patches and moments, but I'm not at the point where I'm ready to give up just yet. We did discover that there's possibly a way out of this town. We also found out that there was a way to defeat some of the monsters. Lastly, with Jade and Boyd, I think we're on the path of finding out the rules to this place and that they can possibly follow them to figure out how to escape. So I'm looking forward to season 3, even though there are plenty more questions than there are answers. So you all tell me, what did you rate this episode 10 on a scale from 1 to 10? And what did you rate the whole season when it comes to season 2 as a whole? Now, let me remind you one last time, this next theory video, I've got something I'm cooking for y'all that I don't want y'all to miss. I think I finally solved the big mystery that's been bugging a lot of y'all. One of those mysteries is going to be who threw the rope. I think I finally got the answer for that. And who was behind all the madness? I got that as well. I think that I found some incredibly fun clues that are too big, like I said, for this video because this is long enough, but I will share them in the next upcoming video for sure, and you're not going to want to miss it. In the meantime, because I appreciate y'all so much for sticking with me to the end, I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek into my interview with Scott McCord, aka Victor. Again, it's because I like y'all. Y'all so great. I got a chance to speak with him and to talk to him about some really fun things. He gave me an update on season 3, and we also talked about some fun theories that you're definitely going to want to hear too. So enjoy the clip. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for leaving your comments here. I also appreciate, and I should mention this, I appreciate some of y'all that actually go hit the thanks button and leave a donation. I don't mention it enough, but I do want to say that I see you and I appreciate you so much for that. You guys have just been so generous and kind, sharing my videos, leaving your comments, and just watching them. It means the absolute world to me. I should also mention that I am going to complete my season 1 coverage as well. I got really caught up with season 2. As you can see, there's a lot to talk about here, but I'm not going to leave y'all hanging. There's a lot to still talk about in season 1 that I know for a fact y'all missed, but I'm here to help y'all. I'm going to catch you up on all of that stuff. So make sure you go back and watch those season 1 recaps as well, because you never know what kind of clues that you missed. But anyway, enjoy this preview of my interview with Victor, and y'all, until next time, I'll see you all soon. You have been peeling away the layers when it comes to Victor and his character, and it has been such a revelation just to see your work in this, right?
Thank you so much.
I guess my question is, especially with this new revelation of him having a sister, can you walk me through what it was like when you found this out on the script and what fed your performance to bring that to life?
Yeah, man. That was, I'm sure you can imagine, was it's Jeff Pinkner and John Griffin, that's, when they talk about milestones for the
Hmm.
season, that was a milestone. And that was one that I'll say this, I didn't see coming, I don't do too much theorizing, you know what I mean? But I, I thought that maybe Victor's arc was going a certain way, and that just took it obviously somewhere. I just never saw that coming.
Hmm.
So I had enough advanced prep in terms of the shooting days of that particular scene at the car where it's, I have that moment. And yeah, man, it was a lot of homework, a lot of prep, a lot of I mean, I've been doing that over the season anyway, with just, with the still controversial subject of repressed memories and trauma and all that. But I felt like I knew it was uncharted territory, and for me, and I was really excited to go in it. And I have this beauty, man, of this thing with Victor, where he just really is his own enigma, So I went in with the sense that, like, it doesn't have to be like anything else. Is it, that we, research aside and all that, Victor can react in whatever way. I just have to be there emotionally full so that, when that moment arrives. And luckily, I've got Catalina in the scene with me, who's amazing. I've got Brad Turner was directing, was great. And a cast crew, everybody there that was, just a little land of love that allows for something like that to happen. And I'll go back again, and the beauty of John Griffin's creation and Pinkner and those guys coming up with that. So not to say I wasn't scared as hell, man. I
Hmm.
was, That's like I said, uncharted territory. But I'm pleased with how the whole Victor arc this season has gone. Anyways, just in terms of what they gave me, I was so happy about it.
Oh my gosh, no, it's been so fulfilling to
Mm.
see that from him. And I'm gonna throw you a curveball. I know you say you don't
Yeah,
like to theorize, but I'm gonna throw a theory at you. It's a
hit
little
me.
mild prediction. I
Okay.
think, given the final, the finale and the big reveal
Hmm.
with Tabitha,
Hmm.
Victor revealed that, like he found his mother there, but we
Yeah.
didn't hear anything about his sister. So I'm wondering if his sister is alive, runs into Tabitha for whatever crazy reason. They go back to Fromville. What do you think it's gonna be like if Victor reunites with his sister?
Oh, yeah, that's a curveball. Thanks a lot. You're gonna get me all emotional here.
If you're new here and you like what you see, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.